I'm Amanda Cooper, 32, a committed architect crafting skyscrapers in Tokyo. When my family called with a big surprise for my birthday, I splurged $2,000 on a last-minute flight back to Seattle. After a grueling 10-hour flight, I dragged my jet-lagged self to our family home, heart racing with excitement. The porch light was off and the door was unlocked. Inside, darkness enveloped me. In the kitchen, I found half of my birthday cake in the trash and a sticky note that read, "We used your money, $158,000 for the condo." My knees buckled. 8 years of savings had vanished. Let me know where you're tuning in from and hit that subscribe button if you've ever been blindsided by someone you trusted. This tale of betrayal and what followed might change your perception of family forever. In our family, I was always the responsible one. Since I was 12, I ensured bills were paid during tough months for my parents. By 16, I was working after school to help with groceries while my sister Stephanie enjoyed new clothes and cheerleading camps. That was the Cooper household dynamic, and I accepted it because that's what families do. They support each other. My passion for architecture began in high school, sketching dream houses at lunch. My family didn't understand it, but they also didn't discourage me. When I got a scholarship to study architecture in college, they were proud in their way, though I recall my mother saying, "That's nice, honey, but you can always come back home if it gets tough," as if she expected me to fail. I didn't fail. I graduated with honors and secured an incredible opportunity with an international firm in Tokyo. The projects were innovative and challenging, just as I'd hoped. Over 6 years, I climbed from junior architect to leading my design team, specializing in sustainable urban structures, and my name gained recognition in the industry. Tokyo became my home. I learned Japanese, made friends, and fell in love with the city's efficiency and beauty. My small apartment near Shinjuku Station became my sanctuary, something I never had while sharing a room with Stephanie. Despite the distance, I stayed connected with my family in Seattle through weekly video calls, holiday care packages, and financial support when needed. When Dad's car broke down, I sent money. When Mom needed dental work, I covered it. When Stephanie wanted to take community college courses, I paid her tuition. I didn't mind. I was earning well and wanted to give back to the family that raised me. The house in Seattle was technically mine too. When Grandma Rose passed 5 years ago, she left her house to me, knowing I was responsible. I let my parents and occasionally Stephanie live there rent-free. It was a modest 3-bedroom in Greenwood, nothing fancy, but it had been in our family for generations. Meanwhile, I was saving for my dream, a traditional Japanese-inspired home back in the Pacific Northwest, merging my two worlds. Every month, I diligently transferred money into a savings account. 8 years of discipline, saying no to vacations and designer clothes, taking on extra projects, totaled $158,000, representing my future, my sanctuary, my reward for years of hard work. I should have noticed the warning signs. The time Mom borrowed $5,000 for a medical emergency that turned out to be a cruise with friends. Or when Stephanie used my credit card to buy a MacBook Pro for school, only to drop out 2 weeks later. Each time I forgave them because they were family. Families make mistakes. 3 weeks before my 32nd birthday, I was finalizing designs for a major project when Dad called, sounding unusually excited. "Amanda, honey, we've planned something big for your birthday. You need to come home." I tried to explain my project, but he insisted it was important. "The whole family will be here. It would break your mother's heart if you missed it." My boss, Rachel Bennett, was understanding when I requested time off, saying, "Family comes first," unaware those words would haunt me. The flight from Tokyo to Seattle was brutal. I paid extra for a direct flight, splurging on business class since regular seats were sold out. $2,000 for a last-minute ticket. I convinced myself it was worth it to see my family surprise. During the flight, I wondered what they had planned. Had they finally accepted that architecture wasn't just a phase? Maybe they arranged meetings with local firms for my return, or planned a gathering of old friends. Whatever it was, the fact they had organized something significant for me warmed my heart. As the plane descended into Seattle-Tacoma International Airport, I looked out at the familiar Pacific Northwest landscape. The evergreen trees, water, glimpses, the silhouette of Mount Rainier, home. Despite building my life in Tokyo, Seattle would always be my origin. I texted them upon landing. "Just arrived. Can't wait to see everyone. Should be home in about an hour. No response, but I figured they were busy preparing. I collected my luggage, took a ride share, and settled in for the 40-minute drive to Greenwood. The driver tried to chat, but I was too exhausted and excited to engage. Jet lag hit hard after nearly 24 hours awake. As we pulled onto my street, I noticed the house was dark. No cars, no lights. Odd. I checked my watch to confirm the time difference. It was just past 7 p.m. Where was everyone? I paid the driver and dragged my suitcase up the familiar walkway, unease growing with each step. The key still worked, which was a small relief. I pushed open the front door, calling out. "Hello, Mom, Dad, Stephanie, I'm home." Silence answered. I fumbled for the light switch, blinking as the entryway illuminated. Everything looked normal at first glance. The same faded wallpaper, family photos on the wall, scuff marks on the hardwood floor. But something felt off. I wheeled my suitcase inside, moving deeper into the house. The living room was unnaturally tidy, as if it had been cleaned for a company that never arrived. No decorations, no welcome home banner. Nothing suggested a birthday celebration was on the horizon. "Anyone home?" I called again, my voice sounding small in the empty house. The kitchen light revealed the first real clue something was wrong. An open box from Sweet Caroline's Bakery, my childhood favorite. I peered inside, finding only half a cake, the side, reading, "Happy birthday, Amanda." The other half lay discarded in the trash can beneath the sink, face down among coffee grounds and empty containers. Beside it were crumpled paper plates, used plastic forks, and wadded-up napkins, evidence of a celebration that had happened without me. My heart raced as I tried to comprehend the scene. Had I misunderstood? Had they celebrated without me and then left? But they were the ones who insisted I come home for this date. That's when I saw it. A bright yellow sticky note on the refrigerator door in my mother's distinctive handwriting. "Amanda, we used your money. $158,000 for the condo. Keys are with us. Call when you get in." I read it 3 times before the words sank in. My money, my savings, the fund I nurtured for 8 years toward my dream home, they wouldn't have. Trembling, I pulled out my phone and opened my banking app, entering my password incorrectly twice before finally getting it right. The savings account that held my future displayed a balance of $24,612. A text notification popped up from Stephanie. "Thanks for the upgrade, bro. Best birthday gift ever." Attached was a photo of her posing in front of a sleek kitchen with granite countertops making a peace sign. In the background, my parents raised wine glasses. My knees gave out. I sank to the kitchen floor, the cold tile pressing against my legs. This couldn't be real. There had to be an explanation. A terrible misunderstanding. I called my mother's cell with shaking fingers. She answered on the 4th ring, her voice unnaturally bright. "Amanda, you made it. Are you at the house?" "Mom," I said, voice cracking. "What did you do? Where's my money?" There was a pause. My mother's tone shifted harder. "Now, Amanda, don't start with the dramatics. We've been living in that cramped house for years while you're off in Japan living the high life. Stephanie needed a decent place and you had all that money, just sitting there. You always said you wanted to help the family. You stole from me. That was my savings for my own house." Dad's voice came on the line, evidently on speaker. "Princess, we didn't steal anything. Remember when you added your mother to your savings account before you moved to Japan in case of emergencies?" The memory hit like a physical blow. 6 years ago, when I first moved to Tokyo, I added my mother as a joint account holder in case something happened to me overseas. I meant to remove her once settled, but forgot. For 6 years, she had access to my growing savings and never touched it until now. "That doesn't make it right," I whispered. "How could you do this to me on my birthday?" "Oh, stop being so selfish." Stephanie had apparently grabbed the phone. "You make tons of money in Japan. You can save it up again. I needed this condo. Do you know how embarrassing it is to still be living at home at 28? And Mom and Dad deserved an upgrade too. We did this for all of us," my mother added. "We're family. We share things." "You told me to fly home," I said, shaking with anger and disbelief. "You said you planned something big for my birthday." "Well, we did." My mother sounded genuinely confused at my anger. We used your birthday as the reason to finally do this. It's a big step for the family, and we saved you some cake. Half a cake in the trash? Don't be ungrateful, Dad chimed in. We were going to take you to see the condo tomorrow. You'll love it. 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and a view of the lake. Much nicer than this old place. I ended the call, too stunned to respond. The betrayal was so complete, so calculated I couldn't process it. They used my birthday as a cover to steal my savings. They let me spend $2,000 on a last-minute flight for a celebration that never existed. They took 8 years of my hard work and discipline without a second thought. As I sat on the kitchen floor, memories flooded back. The Christmas when my parents gave Stephanie a car while I got a sweater. The time I came home from college to find they converted my bedroom into a home gym without telling me. The countless times my achievements were minimized while Stephanie's smallest efforts were celebrated. This was a new behavior, just the extreme version of a pattern existing my entire life. I had always been the responsible one, the one who gave, the one counted on to sacrifice, and they had always been the takers. My phone buzzed again with another text from Stephanie. By the way, we're having a housewarming party next weekend. Bring champagne from that fancy store you mentioned. Once the expensive kind. There was no apology, no acknowledgement of their actions, only entitlement and expectation that I would continue to play my assigned role, the reliable daughter, the human ATM, the eternal supporter of their wants and needs. I turned my phone off and sat in the silent, empty house that was technically mine, but had never felt like it. Tomorrow, I would have to face them and see the condo they purchased with my stolen dreams. Tonight, I just needed to breathe through the pain and betrayal threatening to engulf me. Sleep was impossible. I lay on my old bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying every conversation, every interaction that led to this moment. The sheets smelled musty, as if no one had bothered to freshen the room, even knowing I was coming. A small betrayal atop the massive one. Around 3 a.m., I gave up on sleep and sat at the small desk that still held some of my old architecture books. My jet lag and emotional turmoil created a strange disconnection, as if I were floating outside my body, watching someone else's life implode. I logged into my bank account again, hoping against hope that what I'd seen was a glitch. But the numbers didn't lie. $158,000 gone, transferred to another account days ago, 2 days after they insisted I come home. The timing was clear. They knew I would check my accounts, so they needed me distracted by the surprise birthday narrative until the money was safely spent on a property they could claim was for all of us. On a whim, I logged into my retirement account and investment portfolio. To my immense relief, they hadn't accessed those. Either they didn't know about them or couldn't figure out how to get in. Small mercies. I called the bank's 24-hour customer service line, my voice eerily calm as I explained the situation to a representative named Timothy. I'm sorry, Miss Cooper, but if your mother is a joint account holder, she has legal access to the funds, Timothy explained after looking into it. There's nothing we can do from a bank perspective, as this isn't technically fraud, even if she never contributed a penny to that account, even if all deposits came from your paychecks. Unfortunately, yes. Joint accounts don't distinguish whose money is whose. Both parties have equal rights to the funds. I thanked him and hung up, cold clarity starting to replace shock. I had been naive. I had trusted too much. I had forgotten a fundamental truth. Just because people are family doesn't mean they have your best interests at heart, dawn broke as I finally showered and changed clothes. I attempted to call my parents and Stephanie several times, but all 3 had apparently turned off their phones. They knew what they had done was wrong, even if they wouldn't admit it. I sent a group text. We need to talk about this. Answer your phones. No response. By 10 a.m., I was pacing the house, anger replacing the hollow feeling in my chest. Every photo on the wall, every piece of furniture I had paid to maintain or replace over the years, every repair I funded took on a new, sinister meaning. This house had been another way they used me. In a moment of clarity, I realized I needed legal advice. I called Michael Taylor, a college friend who had become a lawyer and moved back to Seattle a few years ago. Amanda, long time no see. How's Tokyo treating you? His familiar voice brought the first genuine smile to my face in ages. Tokyo's Great, Michael. Unfortunately, I'm in Seattle dealing with a family emergency. Do you have time to meet today? I need legal advice. 2 hours later, I was sitting in Michael's downtown office pouring out the whole sordid story. He listened without interrupting, his expression growing more concerned with each detail. Legally, this is complicated, he said when I finished. Your mother had the right to access that joint account, so criminal charges would be difficult to pursue. However, there are civil options we could explore. Like what? Well, for starters, you own the house they've been living in. Have you ever had a formal rental agreement with them? I shook my head. No, they're family. I just let them live there. That works in your favor. They're technically month-to-month tenants, which gives you certain rights as the property owner. A plan began to form in my mind, but I pushed it aside for now. What about the condo? Can I make any claim on it since it was purchased with my money? Michael looked thoughtful. Possibly. If we can prove the funds were taken under false pretenses, even if the account was joint, we might have a case. It would be messy, though, and would definitely permanently damage your relationship with your family. I laughed bitterly. I think that ship has sailed. As I left his office with a list of possible actions and the promise of his help, I felt a strange mix of grief and determination. The family I thought I had was an illusion. The people who should have loved me most saw me as nothing more than a resource to exploit. The worst part was discovering evidence that this betrayal had been planned for months. When I returned to the house and looked around, I found mail indicating they had been touring condos for at least 6 months. A brochure for Lakeside Towers was pinned to a corkboard in the kitchen, dated 3 months ago, with the exact unit they purchased circled in red. They had been planning to take my money while calling every week, asking about my life, telling me they missed me, reminding me of my obligations to family. The depth of the deception made me physically ill. By evening, I still hadn't heard from any of them. I drove by the address on the condo brochure, confirming my suspicions when I saw my father's car and my mother's distinctive garden gnome already placed by the entrance. They had moved in without waiting for my supposed birthday celebration. Back at the house, I opened a bottle of wine I found in the cupboard, which I probably paid for at some point, and contemplated my next steps. I had come to a crossroads. I could forgive again, write off the money as an expensive lesson, and try to maintain some semblance of a relationship with my family, or I could stand up for myself and show them their actions had consequences. The wine glass felt heavy in my hand as memories washed over me. My high school graduation when my parents left early to take Stephanie shopping. My college scholarship announcement met with, "That's nice, but don't get a big head about it." My first major architecture award, which they didn't attend because it conflicted with Stephanie's pottery class showcase. A lifetime of being undervalued, taken for granted, and exploited. And now the ultimate betrayal, stealing the physical manifestation of my dreams and hard work. Something shifted inside me as I sat alone in that empty house. A lifetime of accommodation and understanding, the stolen money, the casual cruelty of it all. Rachel's reply was immediate and supportive, offering extended leave if I needed it and expressing outrage on my behalf. "Family isn't just about blood, Amanda," she wrote. "It's about respect and love. What they did shows neither. Remember, you have people who value you for who you are, not what you can give them." Those words were the final piece I needed. As midnight approached, I made my decision. Tomorrow would mark the beginning of a new chapter, one where I valued myself as much as I had always valued others. Morning light filtered through the dusty blinds as I awoke from a fitful sleep. My phone showed 5 missed calls, all from unknown numbers. Curious, I listened to the voicemails. Real estate agents responding to an inquiry about selling a house. In Greenwood, my house. Confused, I checked my email and found a notification. From Zillow, a service I never signed up for. Apparently someone had created an account in my name and listed my house for sale at 20% below market value, guaranteeing a quick sale. It had to be Stephanie. She had access to my email password because I had let her use my Netflix account. This was a new level of audacity. Trying to sell my house out from under me, perhaps to finance further upgrades to their condo lifestyle. As I processed this, my phone rang. It was my mother. "Amanda, what do you think you're doing?" Her voice was shrill with indignation. "What are you talking about?" I replied, feigning ignorance. Don't play dumb. We just got an email saying our house is being sold. There's already an open house scheduled for tomorrow. The pieces clicked together. It wasn't Stephanie who had listed the house. It was Michael, my lawyer friend. After our conversation yesterday, he must have taken immediate action using the power of attorney document I had signed years ago when I moved to Japan. A cold smile spread across my face. It's not your house, Mom. It's mine. Grandma left it to me, remember? But we live here. You can't just sell it without talking to us, she protested. I'm not making you homeless. You have a beautiful new condo, remember? Paid for with my money. The line went silent for a moment. We can't keep the condo, my mother finally admitted, her voice small. We used the money for the down payment, but we can't afford the monthly fees on our own. We were counting on you to help with that too. The audacity was breathtaking. They had stolen my savings for a down payment on a property they couldn't even afford to maintain, assuming I would continue to fund their lifestyle. That sounds like a you problem, I said, surprising myself with the hardness in my voice. The house is being sold. You have 30 days to vacate, as per the legal notice you'll receive today. Amanda Jean Cooper, we are your parents. You can't do this to us. Watch me. I hung up, my heart pounding, but my mind clearer than it had been in days. A text came through from Michael. Hope you don't mind the initiative. When I saw what they did, I couldn't wait to help you fight back. The house should sell quickly at that price. I texted back my thanks, feeling a weight lift from my shoulders. For the first time in my adult life, I was putting myself first. It was terrifying and exhilarating all at once. The next call was from Stephanie. What the hell, Amanda? Mom's having a complete meltdown. What did you say to her? I told her the truth. The house is being sold. You all need to find somewhere else to live. You can't do that. Where are we supposed to go? I don't know, Stephanie. Where was I supposed to go when you stole my life savings? Where was I supposed to build my future? Oh my God, you're still on about that? It's just money. You can make more. Her dismissal of 8 years of sacrifice ignited something primal inside me. It wasn't just money. It was my dream. It was security. I worked for that while you were spending Dad's disability checks on concert tickets. We invited you to be part of it. I can't believe you're being so selfish, she protested. Tell me, did you even celebrate my birthday? Or was that cake just for show when I arrived? Her silence answered me enough. That's what I thought. You know what, Stephanie? I'm done being the family ATM. Sell the condo, move into an apartment you can actually afford, and start acting like an adult. You'll regret this, she threatened. When you're old and alone because you turned your back on family, you'll regret it. I'd rather be alone than surrounded by people who see me as nothing but a resource to exploit. After hanging up, I sat in the quiet house, letting the magnitude of what I had done sink in. I had initiated a seismic shift in my family dynamics. There would be fallout, attempts at manipulation, probably flying monkeys in the form of extended family members. They would enlist to make me feel guilty. But underneath the anxiety was something new. Pride. I was finally standing up for myself. My phone buzzed again. A text from an unknown number. Amanda, it's Aunt Judith. Your mother called me hysterical about you selling the house. What's going on? I called her back, not wanting this to be another text conversation. Amanda, is that you? Her voice was just as I remembered, warm and direct. It's been a long time. Too long. Your mother called me in quite a state. Something about you selling the house from under them and being vindictive. That doesn't sound like the Amanda I remember. I took a deep breath and told her everything. The savings account, the fake birthday surprise, the half-eaten cake in the trash, the condo they couldn't afford. All of it. She listened without interrupting, occasionally making sounds of disbelief or sympathy. When I finished, there was a long pause. I always worried about this, she finally said. The way your parents favored Stephanie and took advantage of your responsible nature. It's why your grandmother left the house to you, you know. She saw it too. You're not going. To tell me I should forgive them because they're family? I asked cautiously. Aunt Judith laughed, a sharp sound without humor. Honey, I cut contact with your mother 15 years ago when she tried to forge my signature on a loan application. Some people don't change. Some people don't deserve unlimited chances just because you share DNA. Her validation brought tears to my eyes. For the first time since arriving back in Seattle, I didn't feel crazy or overreacting. "What should I do now?" I asked, suddenly feeling very young and uncertain. "Exactly what you're doing. Protect yourself, set boundaries. Let them face the consequences of their actions. It's the only way they might ever learn, though I wouldn't hold my breath on that." After talking with Aunt Judith for nearly an hour and catching up on years of missed connection, I felt centered again. The path forward was clear. I would sell the house, return to my life in Tokyo, and rebuild my savings. I would maintain contact with those who truly cared about me, like Michael and Rachel and now Aunt Judith. And I would distance myself from those who had proven they saw me only as a means to an end. That afternoon, I received an email from the real estate agent Michael had contacted. There was already serious interest in the house, with 3 offers, likely coming in by tomorrow. The Seattle market was hot, and even at below market value, I would walk away with enough to restart my savings fund. As I prepared for bed that night, my phone pinged with a notification from a local news site. I nearly dropped it when I saw the headline, "Local Family Claims Daughter Selling Home Out from Under Them Out of Spite." There was my father, teary-eyed, telling a reporter how his ungrateful daughter was punishing them for using money she had always intended for family use. My mother clutched a tissue, lamenting how after all they had sacrificed to raise me, this was how I repaid them. The story was a masterclass in manipulation, painting me as the villain and them as innocent victims. But they had overplayed their hand. The comment section was filled with skepticism, with many pointing out inconsistencies in their story and questioning why they were living in a luxury condo if they were about to be homeless. I should have been furious, but instead, I felt an odd sense of calm. This desperate attempt to control the narrative only confirmed I was doing the right thing. They were showing their true colors for everyone to see. I took a screenshot of the article and sent it to Michael with the message, "I think we just got handed excellent leverage for whatever comes next." His reply was immediate. "Absolutely. Public defamation adds another layer to our potential case. Don't worry, we'll handle this." For the first time since finding that sticky note on the refrigerator, I fell asleep quickly and slept soundly. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but I was ready to face them. The family that had betrayed me had unwittingly given me the greatest gift of all: freedom from their manipulation and the strength to value myself. The house sold in 3 days. 3 offers came in, all above asking price. Despite the initial below-market listing, Michael advised me to accept the all-cash offer that could close in 2 weeks, and I agreed. The buyers were a young couple expecting their first child, excited about the neighborhood and the home's character. There was poetic justice in knowing the house would go to a family that appreciated it. Meanwhile, the fallout from my parents' media stunt backfired spectacularly. The reporter who wrote the initial piece did a follow-up investigation and uncovered the truth. My parents and sister had taken my life savings without permission and were now living in a luxury condo they couldn't afford. The updated story painted a very different picture. One of entitled family members facing the consequences of their actions. Stephanie was furious when her workplace saw the article. She had told colleagues and her boss that she had invested wisely to afford her new upscale address. Now exposed as having taken her sister's money, she faced uncomfortable questions about her integrity. "You've ruined my reputation," she screamed over the phone. "My boss pulled me aside to ask if I steal from the company too." "This is your fault, Stephanie. It's your fault for lying and taking what wasn't yours," I replied calmly. The condo association also took notice of the news story. Michael informed me that they had strict requirements about owners' financial qualifications. The revelation that my family had used stolen funds for the down payment and couldn't afford the monthly fees triggered a review of their purchase. My father called next, his voice a mixture of anger and desperation. "The condo board is making us verify our income. We can't pass the requirements without your help. You need to write a letter saying you're contributing to our monthly expenses." "No, Dad, I don't need to do that." "Then we'll lose the condo. Is that what you want? For your family to be homeless?" The manipulation was so transparent now that I could see it clearly. "You won't be homeless. You'll have to live within your means like everyone else." "Does. We're your parents. We raised you, and I've been supporting you financially for years." "That ends now." I hung up, blocking his number immediately afterward. I did the same with my mother's and Stephanie's numbers. If they wanted to communicate with me, they could do it through Michael. With the house sale proceeding quickly, I turned my attention to other matters. The joint bank account was closed. My email passwords were changed. My Netflix, Amazon, and other subscription services were updated to remove their access. One by one, I cut the financial ties that had bound us together. Ties I now realized had been chains keeping me tethered to their constant demands. Aunt Judith invited me to stay with her while the house sale finalized. Her comfortable apartment in Queen Anne became a sanctuary, a place where I could process my feelings without the constant reminder of betrayal that the family house had become. "You know," she said one evening as we shared a bottle of wine on her balcony, "your mother did something similar to me years ago. Not as extreme as taking my savings, but she borrowed money repeatedly with no intention of paying it back. When I finally said no, she turned the family against me, claiming I was selfish and uncaring. How did you deal with it?" I asked. She smiled, the lines around her eyes crinkling. "I built a life filled with people who valued me for myself, not what I could give them. It was the best decision I ever made." I thought about Rachel and my team in Tokyo, about Michael's immediate willingness to help, about the friends I'd made in Japan who checked in on me daily during this ordeal. I had people who truly cared. I wasn't alone, even if my blood relatives had betrayed me. The next strategic move came when Michael discovered that my parents had already taken out a second mortgage on the condo, apparently to buy new furniture, and a car for Stephanie. They were sinking deeper into debt while expecting me to eventually cave and bail them out. "We have two options," Michael explained. "We can file a civil suit claiming the money was taken under false pretenses, which would be messy and drawn out, or we can use the leverage we have from their public statements and financial precariousness to negotiate a settlement." "What kind of settlement?" "They sign over a portion of the condo's value to you, equivalent to what they took from your savings. If they ever sell it, you get that money first, and they sign a legally binding agreement to never publicly discuss you or your finances again." It was elegant in its simplicity. I wouldn't get my money back immediately, but I would eventually recoup my losses. More importantly, it would sever the financial relationship permanently. "Let's do it," I agreed. The negotiations were handled entirely through lawyers. I never had to see or speak to my family directly. A blessing, given the emotional toll the situation had taken. Their initial reaction was predictably indignant, but as their financial situation grew more precarious, they became more amenable to terms. 3 weeks after discovering the empty house and stolen savings, I signed the final settlement papers in Michael's office. My parents and Stephanie would keep the condo, but a lien was placed on the property, ensuring I would recoup my $158,000 plus interest when it was eventually sold. They were prohibited from discussing me publicly, including on social media, under penalty of significant financial consequences. Most importantly, they acknowledged in writing that the money had been taken without proper authorization, a small vindication that meant more to me than I expected. "How does it feel?" Michael asked as I set down the pen. After signing, I considered the question carefully. "Like putting down a heavy weight I've been carrying for years without realizing it." That evening, Aunt Judith hosted a small dinner to celebrate. Michael came, as did 2 friends from college who still lived in Seattle and had reached out after seeing the news stories. We ate good food, drank excellent wine, and shared stories that had nothing to do with my family drama. For the first time since arriving back in the States, I laughed freely without the shadow of betrayal hanging over me. The weight hadn't just been the recent theft of my savings, it had been a lifetime of being undervalued and exploited by the people who should have loved me most. As the evening wound down, Rachel called from Tokyo with news. The project I had been working on before this ordeal had been approved for the next phase. With me still leading the team, my job was secure. My future in Tokyo awaited me. "When are you coming back?" she asked. "We miss you." I looked around at the small gathering of people who had supported me through the darkest period of my life, then out the window at the Seattle skyline glittering in the distance. "Next week," I decided. "It's time to go home." Not the home of my childhood, which had never truly been mine, but the home I had built for myself across the ocean. The place where I was valued for my talent and character, not just what I could provide. The house sale closed the following Monday. After paying off the remaining mortgage and settling all fees, I walked away with just over $200,000. My stolen savings were technically still tied up in the condo, but this money would allow me to restart my dream fund, with even more than I had lost. Sometimes, I realized, what seems like an ending is actually a beginning in disguise. My flight back to Tokyo was scheduled for Saturday morning. 5 weeks had passed since I'd flown home for a birthday surprise that never existed. In that time, my entire understanding of family had been dismantled and rebuilt. 2 days before my departure, while having lunch with Aunt Judith near Pike Place Market, my phone rang with an unfamiliar number. Against my better judgment, I answered. "Amanda!" It was my mother's voice, sounding smaller than I'd ever heard it. "Please don't hang up." I signaled to Aunt Judith that I needed a moment and stepped outside the restaurant. "What do you want?" "We need to talk in person, please." "I don't think that's a good idea." "Things are falling apart, Amanda. The condo association is evicting us. The bank is reviewing our mortgage application because of the news stories. Stephanie lost her job. We have nowhere to go." The old me would have immediately offered help, opened my wallet, sacrificed my needs for theirs. But that person was gone, replaced by someone who recognized manipulation for what it was. "I'm sorry to hear that," I said, meaning it. Despite everything, I didn't wish homelessness on them. "No." My father shook his head firmly. "Don't apologize. Not to us. We did this to ourselves. To you." My mother reached across the table, stopping short of touching my hand when she saw me stiffen. "We've been terrible parents to you, Amanda. For years, we took advantage of your success, your generosity, your responsible nature. We favored Stephanie because she was more demanding, more needy. We assumed you were fine because you never complained. And then we crossed a line that can't be uncrossed." My father added, his voice breaking, "We stole from you. We betray." I studied their faces, looking for signs of the manipulation I had grown so accustomed to. But all I saw was defeat and genuine remorse. Still, words were easy. "What do you want from me?" I asked directly. They exchanged glances. "Nothing," my mother said. "We don't deserve anything from you. We just wanted you to know that we understand what we did, the depth of our betrayal, and that we'll spend the rest of our lives regretting it." "Where will you go?" "Your father's brother in Portland has offered us his garage apartment until we get back on our feet," my mother explained. "It's small, but it's more than we deserve right now. And Stephanie, she's staying with a friend. She's not handling this well. She still blames you, thinks you overreacted." That sounded like the Stephanie I knew. Always the victim, never at fault. "I'm not sure what you want me to say," I admitted. "I can't just forgive and forget. The trust is gone." "We know," my father nodded solemnly. "We don't expect forgiveness. We just wanted to see you before you left, to tell you face to face how sorry we are and to wish you well in your life. You deserve every success and happiness, Amanda. You always have." As they fici.